Hi everyone, this is Dr. S.M. Badgio. Today, I invite you to explore one of the most profound and unique ideas in the words of poetry, William Wordsworth, the importance of sympathy. In a world that feels increasingly disconnected, Wordsworth's vision reminds us the empathy, our ability to feel with others. It is not just a moral virtue, but the very profound nature of humanity. William Wordsworth, born in 1770, is one of the leading figures of English Romanticism. His poetry is inseparable from his deep love for nature, his administration or ordinary people on his behalf in the power of emotion. He famously described poetry as the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. For him, sympathy wasn't a distant moral concept, it was at the heart of his poetic mission. Wordsworth wrote about not just kings and heroes, but about the simple joy and struggle of ordinary life. And through this, he taught us to feel with others. Wordsworth believed that poetry should be deeply emotional, written in every language, a bridge sympathy. He wanted poetry to capture the raw, spontaneous overflow of human feelings. Nature for him was the greatest source of emotional truth. He rejected the artificial, flowery language of earlier poetry. Instead, he used the speech of ordinary people so that it in poem were relatable and alive. Wordsworth believed sympathy helps us connect with the joy and sorrows of others. Through poetry, he created a space where readers could understand not only human emotion but also the emotional of life and nature. Sympathy for him was the thread that wove human being, nature, and the entire universe into a single fabric. Wordsworth's idea of sympathy goes beyond human relationship. He believed that nature itself, mountain, rivers, forests, clouds, as a spiritual presence that could evoke empathy in us. Empathy for suffering and joy, acceptance of life nature's cycle, compassion for the struggle of ordinary people. Wordsworth saw life as a flow of universal current where human and nature are deeply connected through sympathy. One of the best examples of sympathy in Wordsworth poetry is a beautiful haunted poem, Slumber Did My Spirit Seal, part of the Lucy poem. The poem begins with a profound emotional shock. The speaker's spirit is sealed by slumber, a numb caused by the death of someone's deeply acceptance. As the poem unfolds, sympathy guides speaker from shock, understanding death is no longer an end. It becomes a return to nature. The beloved becomes part of the earth, moving when its rhythm untouched by fear or pain. Here, Wordsworth presents an utmost spiritual idea that nature receives us gently, observing us into her internal cycle. In this way, sympathy leads to healing, acceptance, and peace. This poem captures the emotional journey many of us take when we face loss, a state of disbelief and numbness felt by everyone who has lost a loved one. Through reflection, we begin to understand that death is a part of life. Wordsworth encouraged a calm, sympathetic acceptance of nature's cycle. The idea that person who has died is now part of internal world believing emotional comfort. This moment of grief to acceptance shows how sympathy helps us healing. In line composed a few miles above Tintern Abbey, Wordsworth expresses how sympathy matures with time. In youth, he saw nature with excitement and passion, but when he revisits the same landscape years later, something has changed. Now he feels a deeper empathy, a compassionate connection with nature, a more reflective and moral understanding. Nature becomes not just source of pleasure, but a source of healing and guidance. It teaches him to see the world with sympathy, humility, and gratitude. One of Wordsworth's greatest contribution to literature is his compassion towards ordinary individuals. He wrote that celebrating ordinary lives, social awareness, human nature connection. In doing, he repeatedly portrayed how nature supported and uplifted these ordinary lives, offering refuge, moral insight, and emotional strength. In doing so, Wordsworth elevated the dignity of common life. Wordsworth's legacy of sympathy. Let us conclude with a powerful reminder from Wordsworth himself. The world is too much with us, late and soon. Getting and spending, we lay waste our powers. He warns us that in a busy life, we often lose our ability to feel, to sympathize, to appreciate, to connect. Wordsworth's poetry teaches us to open our hearts, to listen to nature, to feel with others, to honor and dignity of ordinary, to accept life's cycle with certainty. His legacy is one of compassion, emotional depth, and human understanding. In a world that needs sympathy more than ever, Wordsworth reminds a timeless guide reminds us of our shared humanity and our bond with the nature world. Thank you.